I am so excited. Oh, we got to change up the caption here. We're going to talk today about how to go from being in the room to, let me just change that up, to owning the room, as well as I've got a really fantastic special announcement today. So I'm all excited today, if you can't tell. All right. So I'm just going to give a couple seconds here for those of you that have said yes, because I know there's quite a few that wanted to be here today to join in. So let's just make sure I've got the chat open. And anyone who is deciding that, hey, this is I have decided. So if you are a woman in leadership and you are finding yourself constantly being overlooked, or you're not really finding that moment in order to be able to have that conversation with, like you can't contribute your ideas because there's some dominant voices in the room, and that leads to you, for example, going, oh well, how am I actually able to get my ideas across so that people are listening to me, rather than I come in at the last minute and it's really hard to add a couple people here. It's just getting really hard for you to get your ideas across and then have them resonate and not feel like, ooh, I've kind of added in my idea at the wrong moment. You're waiting. You might be getting interrupted a lot. That's what I see with a lot of women. They get interrupted quite a bit as well on their end when they're trying to. Sorry, I'm just trying to add a couple of people here. When you get interrupted a lot when you're thinking about things, or as women, we often find ourselves speaking and not hesitating, but pausing for a moment, either to catch a breath or to gather that next thought. So if that is you, I want you to. This is going to be a great present. This is going to be a great thing for you today, and I'm going to keep it pretty short. So I've got 3 things I want to share with you of how you can go from being in the room to owning the room, as well as a really great special announcement. All right, so let's dive into that right now, because I've given it a couple minutes, so people should be jumping on. I have already jumped on. All right, so the first one, and I know it may sound like it's a fairly easy one, is to be prepared. Now, why do I say to be prepared? Now, consider it in the sense that you don't want to spend as much time looking through your notes, or going back to make sure that you've got the data right. But if you're prepared ahead of time to think, okay, well, I can answer almost any question that's going to come up, then it makes a really big difference. It allows you also to insert yourself at the moment a question is asked, and you no longer need to check on your notes, which is another little bit of a pause. It's another way of kind of taking that time away from actually being able to contribute into that meeting itself. So if you're finding yourself that you are really wanting to, rather than just being in the room and just being available, but you really want to go into and actually increase the visibility that you've created, become part of that, more of the strategic decision making, and actually become what I call a sought after strategic leader, then part of your preparation is being able to go in and be as prepared as possible, right? Because one of the things I found often that women that I work, they're like, we have this fear of that we might be saying something wrong, or what if our idea isn't good enough? Well, that is part of that preparation. If you can make sure you've got, for example, you have your research down, you have your idea sussed out, then that is, at least you've started to win part of the battle by going into that. Now, here's something the second one, and this is something I see a lot of, and I used to do this a lot as well. And I'll be honest, sometimes I have to remind myself to not do this, but we have a tendency as women to want to wait until something is perfect before starting something new or sharing a new idea. And it could be you want the idea perfect, or maybe you haven't found the perfect way and I do this in quotations, the perfect way of sharing your opinion, your idea, or your thoughts. So you end up waiting. And I want you to actually turn this around rather than overthinking it, because I know that can happen quite a lot, is actually just start sharing it. And through sharing it and practicing this over and over again, what you're going to find is that you will actually increase your ability to share ideas very concisely, succinctly, and very convincingly. And it doesn't happen when you are stuck in your mind and you're going in this closed loop within your mind, thinking, okay, well, if I say it exactly that way and I use exactly those words, then it will be perfect. No, your proficiency and your ability to communicate even better and more influentially happens when you practice this. So accept the fact that the first time you might share an idea, it's kind of falls flat. And realize that you cannot get to that point where you are a sought after strategic leader who is very effective in communicating her ideas unless you start with sharing your ideas first. That first time you share it, that 10th time, that 100th time, each and every time you can improve how you say it, what you say, and in what way that you communicate that. So, again, the second step, and when you're going from being inside the room to actually owning the room, is to stop censoring what you are saying. Now, the third one I want to share with you today, and this is, I actually had this conversation this week with someone that was sharing that they were experiencing a very dominant voice in a meeting. And they had for themselves, they had a really great idea that they wanted to share, and they wanted to create that visibility around that idea as well as for themselves. Yet with some dominant voices in the room, there was just seemed to be like no air or no space to be able to actually share that idea. So what happened is they waited and waited and waited until that person took a break or was finally finished speaking. And we all know that. We've all been in those meetings where we have a couple of dominant voices that just sometimes you feel like, oh, they just like to hear themselves talk, or like, could you just please shut up for like 2 minutes to give someone else some space to add something to this conversation? Right. I know I've been there, and I know we've all been there. And then what you find is that once you've waited and waited and waited, that when the moment that you share your idea, it just falls flat because it didn't get shared at the moment that it would have been most impactful. So here's what the third thing that I want you to do, and the third suggestion I have, and again, these are all suggestions that I take out of my Leadership Edge formula that takes you from being just inside the room to actually owning the room. And that is to create the space for yourself to speak. So this is not about waiting for that moment that someone stops. This is actually you actively taking a moment and interrupting them, really. And I know that might sound, because as women, we have very much been conditioned to always be polite, wait your turn. And this is a much more a social conditioning that happens for women more so than it happens for men. But we need to get over ourselves in that sense. So when someone is being very dominant, or you haven't really had a chance to really contribute to a meeting and you want to increase your visibility, because let's be honest, if you are not taking the opportunities, or you're not creating the opportunities to speak, to become visible, it is going to impact your ability to lead. It's going to also impact your career trajectory. So as you're wanting to move up the organization, yes, the voices are going to get more dominant and more strong, and you can still come in there and create the space for yourself to speak and share. So I'm going to give you 3 ways, just 3, got lots more. So I've got 10 different strategies. If you want that, then just drop me space. Let's drop, I'm just going to think of this off the top of my head, but just drop me the word space, DM me the word space, and I will get you the 10 different ways and strategies for how you can insert yourself into a conversation during a meeting, especially when you've got dominant voices that are on the go. Now, what you can do is first, my first suggestion is to what I call is reiterate and build. So what you can start by saying, and yes, you're going to have to get over this that you're interrupting someone, but you're going to just jump in and say, "Oh, building on what Joe has mentioned." Now, what happens in that case is you're not only acknowledging that that person was speaking, but it also helps align your point with theirs, making the chance, I'm not guaranteeing this, of course, but the chance that they're going to interrupt you on top of that lowers it because now they're really interested in like, oh, wow, okay, so you know, it's sort of like unconsciously you've now complimented them and they are now invested in what you're going to say because they're really curious of like, oh, okay, so you were listening to me, well, now I want to see how, sounds a little egotistical, but I want to see how your idea or what you're going to share is going to relate to me. So again, that's what that first strategy is reiterate and build. So in order to create space for yourself, again, don't wait for that perfect moment or don't wait for your turn to speak, but interject yourself by saying, okay, building on what Joe has mentioned, and then continue on with what your idea is. Another really great way is to ask a clarifying question. Now, I know people can get, especially if you're really passionate about the topic, or if this individual, if those dominant voices are really used to being that dominant, that they can continue to go on and on and on. But interject by asking a question. Can I ask a question for clarity? Now, that allows you to interject a question, and you can also use it to transition into sharing your perspective. So it could be something like that. Can I ask you a question for clarity? Because here's what I was thinking, and I just wanted to understand how that could, where we could find some similarities or collaboration points. Now, that allows you to interject, indeed, both the question, interrupt that person, and stop their flow, as well as transitioning into sharing your own perspective. Now, here's the third way I'm going to share with you, and that would be to share a story. Everybody really gets pulled into stories. That's just how our brains work. It's the way that we remember things the most. If we can package it in a story, and you could use either personal or professional anecdotes to make your point. And you start by saying, "Oh, this reminds me of a time when." Now, and that could be either, again, a professional personal anecdote if this is related to a specific idea that you want to mention, then work it into, this reminds you of a time when. You can insert an accomplishment that you had here or result that you achieved, and then couple it with the idea. Now, when you do it in that way, it really increases both your credibility, your authority, as well as you have gotten that time in to speak. So there are those just three strategies. Again, if you want all, I've got 10 of them. If you want all 10, DM me space, I think what I said, and I'll get them to you. All right, these are three ways. So I've kind of shared 3 and 3. So when you're looking about getting yourself from inside the room to owning the room, here's what I want you to do. 1, be prepared. 2, stop self-censoring what you're going to say. And 3, create the space by actively making the space for you to speak, which may mean interrupting the person or the dominant voices and interjecting yourself into that conversation. Now, if that isn't enough, because I think that was already a great amount of value here, what I also wanted to share with you today is an announcement, and I'm really, really excited about this because this is something that I've been working on in the background, and I know I've kind of teased it out a couple of times, but this is where, like I just shared, all the trainings and the lives that I share with you are all based off of my Leadership Edge formula. So what I have been doing in the background is been creating this amazing group program and creating this community of women leaders who kind of have found themselves a little bit stuck. So this might be where, for example, you're finding yourself, as the topic has been the last couple of weeks, that you're being overlooked you're undervalued, you're not being recognized for your accomplishments, well, then this is a really great group program for you. And it's what I call the Leadership Accelerator. Now, who is this for? This is for women that are ambitious and driven, but they're not really sure about what the next move is. Maybe you're feeling isolated or unsupported in your leadership challenges. And this is one of the things that research has shown as well is that women are often given a lot less development and mentorship opportunities than men are. Maybe you're looking for different tools and strategies and especially community in order to enhance your leadership journey, because I know from personal experience as well as all the women that I've worked with in the last 2.5 years that leadership can be quite a lonely journey. And if you want to go from just simply being that workhorse, you're always working really hard, but you're not getting recognized, you're not getting the credit, then this is a fantastic program for you. So this is what I call the Leadership Accelerator. It is a absolutely game-changing transformation maximize program. So here's some reasons to join. Let's put it that way. One, you get comprehensive training. So I don't just share theories and strategies, but we actually dive deep into really practical strategies that are tailored for you, as well as for the unique challenges that women leaders face. And this is, I've done an MBA. I'm happy I did do an MBA. I love education. And this program doesn't just stop but where an MBA would give you specific strategies or knowledge or information, but really goes above and beyond by diving also deep into yourself so that you can align yourself very powerfully from the inside out, build that leadership mindset, build that leadership identity. That has likely, at least that's my experience after working with 60 plus women leaders, is also an invisible block and obstacle that is getting in your way. Other reasons to join is it's going to boost your career. Really, honestly, you're going to create, like I said, just even the tips that I shared today. It's about creating the visibility for yourself. It's about taking that ambition that you secretly have and making it action and taking actions on it and creating that outcome for it. And it's not about sacrificing even more of your personal life, because that is something I hear oftentimes too. Women are, well, I love the position I'm in, I'm comfortable, I'm okay, and I really do want to move up to the next position, but I'm not willing to add even more hours to my work and sacrifice even more of my personal time. So that is something we also address within the Leadership Accelerator. You're going to build some powerful networks because you're going to be part of an really inspiring community of women leaders that are all ready to collaborate, share, and uplift each other, as well as one of those elements within the Leadership Accelerator is networking, mentorship, and champions. So not only going to build a network and a community within the container of the Leadership Accelerator, but also you're going to have the support as well as the strategies in order to do that above and beyond just the group program. And here's something else that you may not realize, but it's not only a great thing for you professionally, because yes, it's going to get you both those tangible as well as those invisible skills, both hard and soft skills that you can implement as a leader and really to become that sought after strategic leader. And it also is really great for you personally. I have seen women's relationships with their children, with their spouses, with their partners, just improve greatly, because now there's a lot of the pressure and the stress that has come from through the career isn't seeping into their personal lives anymore. It also means you have found ways to become more productive, both personally as well as professionally. And can you imagine what it can also do in terms of your own personal development, as well as that of your team, of your career, and as you as a person? So, what do you find as an outcome after going through this? This is a 6-month program. So we have 6 months together to move you from where you are right now, likely undervalued and overlooked, all the way through to becoming that strategic, sought after strategic leader and a more confident, connected, and capable you, ready to take on any leadership challenge and any leadership role with prowess and poise. Now, if you're not, I'm super excited about this. I'm so excited to get this group started. It's been based off of all the work that I've been doing in the last 2.5 years with my in my one-to-one practice, and now I'm bringing it into a group and a community setting as well. So if this is something that's really interesting for you, you're like, wow, I'd love to get on this. There are limited seats. So because this is a beta program, this is the first time I'm running this, there is a few advantages. One, the seats, the amount of people that are going to be able to join is limited. So I'm only taking 15 women in this first time through this journey. So if you want to be one of those 15, you want to make sure to DM me accelerate in order to find out more, and we will jump on a call and have a conversation about this together. Now, other big advantages are you in terms of the investment. I'm not going to share it here. I will share it on the call, but there is a huge incentive because the investment will never be as low as it is right now, because this is only going to increase in value and increase in price. And because it is a beta, it's the first time I'm running it, I wanted to have a special founding members rate. So if you want to be one of those 15 or one of those founding members and get that special investment rate for this program, then you definitely need to send me, and not even just like walk, but run over to your into your DMs, your messaging, and send me a DM with the word accelerate, and I will get you. We can have a conversation and have all those details, because I want to make sure that I have a phenomenal group of women leaders in this program, and I am committed and I love working with. So we'll also put it this way as well. I absolutely love working with women who are ready and willing to invest in themselves. So are you ready and willing to invest in yourself, both monetarily as well as time and energy with this program? Then I am all in with you right here, right now. So there's a special announcement. The doors are now open for the Leadership Accelerator. This is a fantastic program for women that are in senior to all the way up to executive leadership, who are looking for additional support. Yes, I can go on all the details of what you get in terms of support over 6 months, but let's have that conversation together on in a call, and I can dive into those details further. So love to hear your thoughts. Dive into my DM, send me the DM accelerate, and I will reach out and we will start having a conversation and have a call about finding out whether this leadership accelerator is also a perfect fit for you. Looking forward to seeing you and hearing you in my inbox, and I will talk to you again soon. Have a great